strong, independent, and a boss lady. This is Julia, and I dare you to tune in to find out how to accomplish these words from our guest herself, only on this episode of Sphere Rocket Podcast Network. Hey, it's me again, your host, Julia, and welcome to another episode of Sphere Rocket Podcast Network. All right, you guys, how are you guys doing? What's up to our audience, our spectators watching our podcast episode for today? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to each and everyone. I hope you guys are having a blast, and I hope you guys are ready for today's podcast episode because we've got our lovely guest for today. She is a social media manager and she is also, a virtual assistant herself. So she is our featured virtual assistant guest for this podcast episode. Let's give a warm welcome to the one and only Miss Eliza. Hi, Eliza. How are you doing?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for that very welcome. I hope you guys are doing well and giving that it's holiday already. So yeah.
Yes. And yes, of course, once again, thank you so much for accepting the invite for our podcast as our guest. We can't wait to know and get to know Eliza. Who is Eliza? And how did you feel when you were invited for a podcast for today?
To be honest, I just received the email yesterday and I was really surprised. And at the same time, I'm thankful that I was able to be a part of this initiative to, of course, not just to share my experiences, but to really be grateful that I'm part of Sphere. I'm here for like a longer time already. I can consider that. And to be honest, I am being like assisted well and everything is going well when it comes to my client and the back end process and how everyone helped everything that I need. Client wise, with my work and all the projects that I have concern with. So yeah, I can say that everything's going well.
Nice. That's great. I'm happy for you that everything is going well and smoothly for you. But of course, the people want to know who
Mhm.
Eliza is, of course, in a bigger picture. So please do introduce yourself. What's your background? Where are you from? What are you doing before? What were you doing before you became a virtual assistant? All of those stuff. Anything that you wanna share or put on the table, you're free to do so. So take it away, Eliza.
Okay, so my name is you can call me Ali or Alyssa or anything that you're comfortable to call me with. I am also a 26-year-old. Yep, I'm a 26-year-old and I'm living alone. So I'm in my solo living era. So that's something that's interesting. I love solo living and
Mhm.
I love being independent all the time. So that's one thing that's interesting.
That's great. So, speaking
I
of, the
can say
last thing that I got from you was you were living alone and as well on your original hometown, which is Marikina. That's where you're living right now, shoe capital of the Philippines. So that's kind of cool. I actually complimented earlier if you had a lot of stilettos
yeah.
and heels with you. So, that's kind of cool. You don't lose a lot of shoes there. And of course, kidding aside, I love how
Yeah.
you've mentioned and you were really proud of living alone, right? And I also want to focus and ask about that because not all
Yeah.
women gets to be empowered about the fact that they live alone. Sometimes they grew up and they are used to being codependent. Others need partners as well because they those usual princess treatments that everybody, the guy or the lover gets to do these things for you. And I feel like that fact or that concept that you mentioned earlier, that you living alone, that's quite empowering. You get to be your own boss woman. And I want to know about that. I mean, how did it lead to you being living alone?
I think because at the age of 17, I started working. So if you imagine,
Mm.
I am 26 right now, and it's kind of early for me to work. So I work while I study because I had to support my family by that's by choice. So they didn't like oblige me to do it. But I think even I was a little, I have that heart of really standing up on my own, because I see myself as someone like achieving a lot or becoming like a multi-passionate type of person. So I worked like 6 years in a corporate company ever since I was 17 years old. And I came to a point where I did online teaching for Asian students, wherein I teach English. That will lead me to have like more growth aside from what I'm doing for the past 6 years. So I came to a point where I actually, being a virtual assistant, I applied here in Sphere Rocket. Of course, this is not the only company that I applied with. Like when the pandemic started, it is something that really hit me hard when it comes to the time freedom or the time I spend with my family and like my loved ones. It's really important to me. So I really pushed myself to actually pursue like being a virtual assistant in order for me to have like more time freedom, that I can go whenever I want when with my family or my parents, because I'm like living independently. So that is something that really drives me to be independent. I mean, it's sad and on some part sometimes, because like you're in charge of doing everything alone by yourself. But the good thing about it is that you really grow
Mhm.
and you tend to push yourself not just to your limits, beyond your limits. It's not like all about that. But the thing here is that there's growth in living independently, because you get to depend on yourself and you don't have like anyone who's gonna cook for you, clean for you, organize for you. And it's something that really like excites me, that it's kind of liberating, but it's fulfilling at the same time, because there's growth and I'm always hungry for growth. So I think I'm really at my best living era, like solo living era. It's just really complementing with what I want in life in general.
Love that. That totally makes sense. I totally agree to what you mentioned. And I want to highlight the word freedom because a lot of people are afraid to do this. This is actually a risky thing to most of women or most of people in general, because they get to see a new environment and they have to do everything on their own, all of that kind of concept. And not everybody was used to growing up like that. And then again, growth is actually growth and maturity actually depends on when a certain person decides to live up on her own, him or her on her own, him or her. Yes. And yeah, because I can relate to what you've mentioned, because at a young age, you got to see the world at that level. You got to see the world as young as 17 and no one has the same story as yours. And that's kind of crazy and kind of unique as well because at a young age you see different situations, you encounter these situations and nobody gets to help you with that, although there is certain guidance with parents. But mostly you have to do that on your own. You got to handle that on your own and you learn from that. You learn from those certain situations and then the growth then develops. You grow from it, you mature from that certain situation because of experience. And I do believe that really experience is the best teacher. As I was saying, that's when growth and development really happens, or that's when you become mature, because I do believe that experience really is one of the greatest or best teachers that you can also encounter. And that's when you learn. And that's when you learn on those mistakes that you make all throughout the process, all throughout the life that you've been going all throughout. You already know how to handle it when you experience or encounter another similar situation as that. You try to solve these things on your own, and that's when you also love the fact that you're also living alone. And yeah, you see the beauty in it after years and years, and here you are appreciating doing self-love right now, living this kind of life that a lot could also can relate to, but not everybody gets to appreciate it. So yeah, I salute to you on that, Eliza. So thank you so much for sharing that kind of experience of living alone, a strong independent woman. You guys, that's Eliza right there as our guest today on our podcast. So yeah, So now that you've been a virtual assistant for years and years, I wanna go deeper as well on your job position right now as a social media manager. What do you do? What are your daily tasks? What do you usually do with that kind of work?
Okay, that's a great question. So, as a social media assistant, first before I became a social media manager, but my daily task or my role as a social media manager with the clients that I am now working here with Sphere Rocket, I mean, the client that I'm working here with, I usually manage all their socials, like their social
Uh-huh.
media accounts, and I get to engage and nurture the leads that my clients is taking care of. Also, I get to create a graphic design with the content, a complete content for them, such as the copywriting. Sometimes it's the reels or the that I do for them that we also use for our socials, such as IG and FB reels. I used to do that as well. And to actually, engagement is very important as a social media manager. I get to report my analytics, the insights every month, and every week we have this bi-weekly meeting for like the sum up or the summary of how it goes for this specific week. So we get to have this. I'm also in charge of having the weekly and the monthly reporting. Aside from
Mhm.
that, I have also like a strategy proposal report that I get to present every month so that we can see what works and what's not working, what's no longer working when it comes to the contents that we post so that we can implement another, like a new strategy that can really help us to improve the content that we deliver to our socials. I also get to organize and revamp like the website and like the social, like the bio or the featured highlights for my client socials. So that's actually the list of the skills or tasks that's being implemented with what I Rocket.
Awesome. That's great. That's a lot of tasks. The ones that you've enumerated earlier, that's kind of a long list to do on a daily basis. And I want to correlate that to the fact that you're living alone and of course being a virtual assistant. How do you reboot yourself, How do you socialize as well? And how do you go back to, because sometimes we get burned out. And the fact that you're living alone and you're in a remote work set up, how do you socialize and how do you make time for, outside work and all of it?
Oh, that's a good question. I have this habit of taking a walk. That's daily before I work,
Mhm.
before I start to work because given the time difference that when I start I mean, when I get to start working, it's gonna be like a nighttime here on our time.
Mhm.
So I have this walk trip, or sometimes I go to my favorite local coffee shop or stall, wherein I get to
Nice.
get a one drink or just socialize with other people. I really don't know.
Mhm.
So that's something that really like stretch my social life to get that I get to know other people aside like from my circle or aside from my family. So I have this habit of communicating with like the barista there or the other people
Mhm.
that gets to dine in with them that's like vibing
Mhm.
with me. So that is something that
Mhm.
really fuels my social life, that improves my social life like on a daily basis or before I get to start working. And I'm really thankful that my client right now requires a lot of meetings because sometimes for me it's
Mhm.
like a kind of like productive because I get to live alone. So sometimes times that our meetings are really pure catch up or just checking in with each other because they are also aware that I'm currently living alone. So they're so nice and make sure that I'm really like okay and safe all the time. So I get to speak with my clients and my teammates as other VAs from Sphere Rocket as well. So yeah, that's how I spend or get to like refresh my social life.
That's nice. That's nice to know that your client really cares as well on your mental health. He or she also gets to socialize with you, and
Yeah.
also you creating the initiative to, go out and talk to random strangers out in cafes. That's really nice to know. It exercises your mental health and, of course, your psychosocial perspective in your personality. So that's awesome. Actually, yeah,
Yeah.
I was kind of worried about you a little bit there because you you're also, I know you're really strong and independent and all of that. But yeah, I'm kind of worried about like how you reboot yourself. And now I got a little relief right there, like your sharing of experience,
Oh.
how you did that. And that's so nice. It's so great. You go out beyond your family or beyond your circle. You go the extra mile just to meet new other people as well. And that's nice. And I don't want to place a bet here, but are you the eldest?
I'm the middle child, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Okay. Okay, awesome. Okay, that's nice to know as well. Kind of unique there. That's nice. Okay, so I want to go back to being you as a
Mhm.
virtual assistant. I know that the Sphere Rocket has been guiding you every step of the way, but I want to ask if how did that impact your current role right now or your personal life, and yeah, how did Sphere Rocket basically help you find your current role as to who you are now?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I actually mentioned this, I think, like on the latter part of our conversation, but Sphere Rocket really helped me, of course, to be matched with this client that is similar to what values I do have, because that's like something that is non-negotiable for me. One thing that I love about Sphere Rocket is they really tend to have this, like they have this not just a one side of, because sometimes there are companies that are just focusing with the client's needs, and then the VA, they sometimes are compromised, right? So I experienced those, like, for my past projects, and I am really happy that I didn't experience it here with Sphere Rocket, that they get to know both sides. Like they get to check what is really working for you or what is no longer for you when it comes to you working with a client, because this is, to be honest, this is like a second client that I am matched with. So I have like an initial, I have like a first client that I get to work with, so that's a different one. And then for the second one, they get to have like a coaching to get to
Mhm.
know more, like the things that you need to improve or the things that you really need help with or support with, so that you can get a client that's really matching with your preferences. So that's really one thing, and it's really like a big deal for me to consider that Verakit is very much considerate, and they have this support that goes beyond not just the time when you guys are working, like for instance, but they are also offering this type of support when, I remember Miss Bell, if you're familiar with her, we
As
had
well.
this potential coaching. Yeah. And she actually messaged me, and that really, like, it really enlightens me, because I get to match with another client at that time, and I don't have any clients at that moment, because I'm done with my first client. And then she messaged
Mhm.
me, and then she makes sure that I am affirmed very well, that you don't have to lose hope, that we are here and we're going to help you out, and you'll have your client that is like based on your values and whatever it is that your preference. So that is something that I really love about Spirit Rocket, because they don't treat you as someone that, like a virtual assistant that's like working with them, but also someone that they can, take good care of, because like we're a team here, that they treat you that way. So that's one
Mhm.
thing. That's another thing that I love about Spirit Rocket, that they
Mhm.
literally treat you as a family, and not just someone
Mhm.
that is, that you're a VA and you will just match it to a client and then that's it
Yeah.
type of relationship. No, it doesn't end there. So even if it's like outside the working hours, they get to message you and update you that, hey, you have another coaching later. We will be sending the points or the coaching points that we have discussed, and then we will giving you an update on where will potentially you will be matched to a specific client, and these are the things that you need to prepare or something. So yeah, those are like what I love about Spirit Rocket. Like, and we are not going to stay in one place, in one environment, if we are not taken care of. So I'm a living proof of that. I can say.
Yes, nice. Nice. Perfectly said. I totally agree to that. Sphere Rocket really treats you as family. They give you a certain care and they don't make lines or barriers about it. If you've been connected with Sphere Rocket, they go the extra mile for you and do everything for you. They have that sense of care, compassion, and they give you assurance, right? They give you assurance and they give you words of
Yes.
affirmation to make sure that everything goes well and everything goes smoothly every step of the way. Maybe baby steps or not, all of that, those small wins, it matters to them. So, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for giving that, sharing that
Yeah.
experience with Sphere Rocket. So, yeah, with that said, of course, with you being many years of being a virtual assistant, I want to ask, what has been the best purchase that you bought so far?
Oh, that's a very good question. Okay. So, as a virtual assistant, like even before, I don't want to compare, to be honest, because we
Hmm.
have this different timing, right? When it comes to like the right timing when we have to purchase something. Of course, it's an
Yeah.
investment when we get to work. So, I really want to share my small wins, but I could consider that is actually a big win because I actually been borrowing a monitor ever since I started as a
Hmm.
virtual assistant. So you can
Hmm.
imagine how hard it is sometimes to work because it's like a secondhand monitor. So basically, it's just being lent to me, and I get to like borrow that ever since I started as a virtual assistant. Like I don't have enough funds for me to buy a brand new one. But when I get to work with Sphere Rocket, I was able to purchase like a brand new monitor before this Christmas and a brand
Hmm.
new phone. And
Wow,
I able
that's
to,
nice.
yeah, and I was able to fund, of course, my apartment. And another investment is my health card, my HMO. And
Hmm.
another one is the coaching programs, not just in Sphere Rocket, but outside. Like I get to invest more with my skills and the things that I love to do, like when it comes to my talent, or if I just want to learn more, like buy a book or something, I can definitely afford those things. So there's a lot of things that materialistically, there's a lot of things that I've like purchased when I became a virtual assistant here in Sphere Rocket. So I'm very proud of that because like in a span of like less than a year, I get to purchase those like big purchases for me this year, given that I am solo living. Everything is being paid by me. So it's a struggle. Yeah, but it's a fulfilling one.
Woo, that is indeed fulfilling. I totally agree to that. That is very satisfying. If you, from what you just shared there, that's a lot of things that not everybody could achieve, and I'm very proud of what you've achieved as well. You're your own boss lady. So for those out there who's listening
Yeah.
right here, Eliza is the living example and the living proof that all anyone can be a strong, independent woman. You just gotta work hard for it and look at all the things that she has done for herself, basically, everything she provided, everything for herself, and that's really nice to know. I salute to you for that. And of course, yeah, that's just so nice to know about all the things that you've purchased. That's very satisfying, very fulfilling, and I hope everybody gets to have that kind of experience, all those who want to be boss ladies as well. Basically leads down to our last question before our commercial break. So please stay tuned right after our commercial break, Miss Eliza. We've got a surprise segment for you. So yeah, for our last question, I also want to correlate this to your situation as well, because it's very unique.
Mhm.
If you are to give one piece of advice to an aspiring virtual assistant and aspiring woman who wants to live alone as well, who wants to live independently, at the same time, be an aspiring virtual assistant, what advice would that be?
Okay, I actually heard this advice from like a CEO right now, but she really started from somewhere. And it really hits me and reminded me, as always, that like it's actually audience of one and validation of no one. And as a Christian, I'm referring to having this validation like from the Lord alone and not just like
Mhm.
from everyone that you get to know or the people around you. Because if we depend our like validation or anything like our satisfaction in this world, we
Mhm.
get to easily distracted. But when
Yeah.
we have this faith and focus and we have this personal goals that is really a part of the Lord's will, and you're of course
Yes.
doing the right thing, that's one thing, and everything will follow. Everything will follow
Exactly.
smoothly. And as someone who is always hungry for growth, I really want to remind like those aspirants virtual assistants to have that of course that faith, but of course I take action at the same time. It doesn't have to be fast, it doesn't have to be slow. You can have your own like time frame when it comes to achieving your goals, but at the same time, make sure that you're taking actions. So I think that's one thing that,
Exactly.
or like those advice are really inspires me all the time.
Exactly. Perfectly said there, Eliza. I totally agree to that. God's timing is perfect. You just got to trust the process and you just got to have faith. You just do your best because God will just do the rest. And yeah, the Lord's will
Exactly.
never fail. There are a lot of, if I may also give an opinion on that, there are two types of will, right? There's God's will and there's permissive will. God's will is when
Hmm.
everything is done smoothly for you. Everything is just laid out for you. The plans are laid out there. And that's because the Lord has been doing that. The Lord has been working in your life. And I totally agree to that. But when there's permissive will, you guys listen up on this. Permissive will is when you force things. You really force things. I want this to happen. I really want this to happen because that's what my heart desires. That's what I want. And a lot of people focus on those things that they want, rather than asking, will the Lord allow this? Right. So that's a
Yeah.
different story now. And that's when Lord will respond to you that, hey, okay, fine, you do what you want to do. I'll allow that, but there is a consequence. So you're gonna face that
Yeah.
consequence. So what you gotta do is just to trust.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Perfectly said. That's very inspiring, Eliza. Thank you so much for laying out that message to everyone. So you guys, you heard that from Miss
Yeah.
Eliza herself. For those aspiring virtual assistants and for those who aspire to be strong, independent boss ladies, just like Eliza, you know, you heard that earlier. So yeah, you just keep that in mind. So all right. So yeah, we'll be right back after
Yeah.
this very short commercial break, and then we're gonna be down to our last segment. All right. See you again later.
Ever
All
dreamed
right.
of swapping your hectic
Thank you so
office
much,
for a
Julia.
comfy home workspace? At Sphere Rocket VA, we make that dream a reality. Say goodbye to rush hours and hello to remote work. Enjoy more time with family, more time for yourself, all while building your career. Interested? Apply now at www.spherejobs.ph.
All righty. We are back on our podcast episode with our lovely guest once again, Eliza. Hi, Eliza.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Thank you
So
so much.
before we are down, yeah, thank you so much as well. I had fun with our conversation earlier. That was really boss lady topic and all for women topic. So yeah, very excited about. I was really hyped up earlier. And so yeah, before we are down to our last segment for today's episode, do you want to give out some shout outs or you want to promote your social media platforms, all of those things?
Oh yeah, thank you so much for that, Julia. I think I would love to invite everyone if they have like an Instagram or like a Facebook, they can definitely add me there because I share more of my experiences in life, like the realistic point of view of my life.
Mhm.
And I really like a firm believer of Jesus Christ. And as a Christian, I really want to promote him because everything he that I have and everything that I do like achieve is because of him. So all glory to Jesus. And of course my family, my partner in life, my boyfriend, and my two fur babies, even though they won't be able to like understand, but I get to share this to them that you know what, I will be your mom will be joining a podcast and it's my first time, so it's really
Oh,
exciting for me. And I actually shared it with my family. My mom and dad are like quite aware and they're really proud of me and they just push me because they believe that I am someone who gets to like a go-getter, so they really like get me already. And of course my friends and those people that really supported me since day one, especially if I don't have anything or everything with me. So yeah, I think that's it. That's it for now.
nice. That's so nice. I just knew that you had a fur baby right now. So that's really great. I'm very happy for you. And yes, I totally agree to that. We owe it all to Jesus. And yeah, I love a fellow Christian right there, you guys.
Oh,
So yeah, thank you so much for that. And as well, we're down to our last segment for this podcast episode. So this is what we call the lightning round. So this is basically just like fast talk. I'm gonna throw in some questions. I'm gonna pitch in some questions, and you just tell me the first thing that pops into your mind. Are you ready, Eliza?
okay. I'm ready. Always.
Nice. Let's do it. Nice. Perfect. All right. Question number one: day off or bonus pay?
Day off.
Nice. Favorite social media platform?
For now, Instagram, IG.
Perfect. Voice or non-voice?
Non-voice.
What is your go-to midnight snack?
Fruits.
Wow. Coffee or tea?
Matcha.
Perfect. Dream country to visit?
Japan.
Most expensive purchase?
I think my monitor or the apartment I'm living in, because it's expensive to live
Oh,
alone. So yeah, the apartment.
okay. Perfect. And lastly, one word to describe Sphere Rocket.
Family. That's the perfect
Family.
word.
Love, perfect word indeed. Thank you so much, Eliza, for your time. It's such an honor to have you. And thank you so much once again for being in our podcast episode for today. I hope you had a blast because I did as well. Although there were little bumps in
Oh.
the road with the internet and everything, but that's all aside right now. I'm very happy to have you. Thank you so much, Eliza. And for those who are watching, please do like and subscribe. See you again in our next episode. Once again, this has been Julia officially signing off and wishing everybody to enjoy the
Thank you
rest
so
of their
much.
day. Thank you. Thank you, Eliza. Bye.
Bye.
Do you want to apply as a Sphere Rocket virtual assistant? Well, look no further because this video is for you. I will be telling you which requirements you will need to submit in order to apply to our new website, plus a few tips and tricks to help you with your initial interview. We have achieved a better way for you to send in your application, so let's begin. Step 1. Visit our website
at www.spherejobs.ph.
Step 2. Fill in the application by inputting your full name, email, number, and other questions that you will need to answer in order to move on to the next step. Step number 3. Send screenshots of your updated CV, Tony Robbins PDF result, internet speed screenshot with a minimum of 10 Mbps, a scanned copy of your government ID, and your portfolio with sample works. Step 4. Click the submit button and wait patiently for our email. Now here are some tips on how to stand out during your initial interview. Tip number 1. Dress up as if you were going to an in-person interview. Wearing something formal will give the interviewer a sign that you are serious about applying to this job role. Tip number 2. Find a quiet space where your interview will be held. There's nothing worse than getting distracted by the noise around you and not being able to understand what the interviewer is saying. Tip number 3. Be yourself and show up as confidently as you can. Know what you bring to the table and honor your worth. Interested in becoming a part of our team? Submit your application now
at www.spherejobs.ph.
Good luck!